all about the ellipse. You may be asking yourself, well, what is an ellipse anyways? Well, I'm here to tell you. As defined by Math Open Reference, an ellipse is a curved line forming a closed loop where the sum of the distances from the 2 points known as foci to every point on the line is constant. Here we can see the 3D cone that is sliced diagonally into a 2D plane. The diagonal slice creates the ellipse. If the plane was horizontal, the shape would be more of a circle. In order to determine the ellipse size, we need to know some characteristics of the ellipse. Pictured here are some names of some things we need to know in order to determine the characteristics of the ellipse. We see the vertices, the co-vertices, the center, the foci, the major, and the minor axes. The point in the middle of an ellipse is called the center. This point is known as h, k, much like the center of a parabola or a hyperparabola. The major axis is the line that intersects the center of an ellipse the long way. Typically, the variable a is used to name the distance from the center h, k to the endpoint of an ellipse on the major axis. These endpoints are called the vertices. The minor axis is perpendicular to the major axis. The variable b is used to name the distance from the center of the ellipse to an endpoint. The endpoints on the minor axis are called co-vertices. Because the major axis is always longer than the minor axis, a is always greater than b. The foci are the 2 points that determine how thin or thick the ellipse is. The foci are always located on the major axis, and if they are unknown, they can be found using the formula a squared minus b squared equals c squared, where c is the distance. Do ellipses exist in the real world? Well, of course they do. Here, I'm going to showcase you some examples. In the great American racing sport known as NASCAR, we see that many of the tracks follow the same shape of ellipses. Some don't know this, but the Dark Knight was quite the mathematician. His symbol even symbolizes that of an ellipse. Here we see an ellipse-shaped water fountain. Surfboard, not only a surfboard, but also an ellipse. This delicious watermelon resembles that of an ellipse. This automaker is famous for their small, compact cars, but their symbol symbolizes that of an ellipse. For this conic, we have a few different kinds of ellipses. We have horizontal versus vertical ellipses, and we have ellipses that are centered at the origin and that are also centered at another point on a graph. When the center is at the origin, we have two different formulas. When the ellipse is horizontal to the major axis, we see x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals 1. When it's the vertical is the major axis, we have x squared over b squared plus y squared over a squared equals 1. On this Cartesian plane, you can see the major axis of an ellipse is the y-axis with the center at the origin, 0, 0. When we have a horizontal ellipse with the center at h, k, the formula is x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. When we have a vertical ellipse with the center at h, k, the formula we use is x minus h squared over b squared plus y minus k squared over a squared equals 1. Here we see an ellipse centered at h, k with the major axis being the x-axis.
plans for the next 2 years, including finishing my associate's degree at Florida Southwestern this summer, and then I will be attending the University of Central Florida in Orlando to pursue a bachelor's in mechanical engineering. After I graduate from the University of Central Florida, I would like to work with drones.